Hey guys, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Destin DeMarion here, back with another Bass Fishing 101 tip. So we're going to talk about a technique called a Carolina rig. It's a specific rig that you're going to want to know if you're going to be bass fishing. And it's pretty simple, and we're going to kind of go over how to set it up today. Just a couple baits that you want to throw on it, as well as the setup that you're going to want to throw it on. So right here, this is a Abu Garcia Fantasista Premier. This one that you're going to want to use for the Carolina rig, I would do a 7'6", medium heavy. If you want to have something that has a little bit of give, but plenty of rod and backbone to sweep and set the hook, because a lot of times your Carolina rig is a long distance away from you, so you need that longer rod to be able to pick up the slack. Then I'm going to use a fast gear ratio reel. This is a Abu Garcia Revo STX. I'm going to want to use one of the high-speed gear ratios. So this one's going to be a 7 or 7.0 to 1 or greater. We can talk about gear ratios in another video, but just kind of want to let you know what I would set it up on, as well as I'd be running a fluorocarbon. Some people do braid to fluorocarbon, but I usually run a fluorocarbon 16 to 20 pound with a 16 to 20 pound leader. So let's get on to the rigging itself. So here are the components that you're going to want to use for a Carolina rig. You've got your weight. Traditionally, you're going to use a barrel weight. As you can see, it's kind of the shape of a barrel. You're going to have a bead, one if not two sometimes, and you need a swivel. And then this is going to connect another leader of line, ultimately to this hook, and then you're going to put one of these baits on your hook, which we'll get to. So the first thing we're going to want to do is get our leader. So I'm going to measure out about 3 feet-ish of leader. A lot of times I like to use about a 3-foot leader. Your leader size can vary depending on how swift a current you're fishing. If you're fishing around cover, a lot of times if you're in strong current, you don't necessarily want a really long leader. And sometimes you want like a short leader in that situation, just so you're not getting tangled up a lot and having the line foul up with the current. So here's our leader. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it to this swivel. You could do it either way, but this is what I like to do first. So I'm going to tie that Palomar knot. I put the line through, put it back through the eye again. I'm going to use that double up loop and tie an overhand knot over the tag end, these two ends here, and then put it back over that barrel swivel. That's an owner barrel swivel right there. Cinch it down, good to go. Use our owner braid scissors there. And then I'm going to set up the rest of my rig that's going to go above this. So here is the main line. Like I said, this is a fluorocarbon. This specifically is 16-pound Gamma Edge. I'm going to thread on my barrel swivel first. A lot of times with the barrel swivel, it's going to be anywhere from a half to an ounce. If you're fishing deeper, you're fishing current. In some situations, you can go lighter. If it's not very deep, if you don't have much wind or current, you can use a lighter weight and get away with it. So we've got our barrel swivel on there. Then we're going to thread our bead on, which the bead is basically just protecting your knot, as well as creating a little bit of a clacking sound, which can help bring the fish to it a little bit, which could sound like a crawdad or something rooting around on the rocks. That's what I would think it would primarily sound like. So then you've got those on the line. You're going to take your main line and attach it to the other side of this barrel swivel. And I'm going to use the same knot that I just tied. I'm going to tie the Palomar. And once we get that done, we'll almost be finished. So now I'm going to take that and go back underneath this leader, bring it back through, put a little bit of saliva on there, cinch it down, and use those scissors, cut the tag end off. So there is Carolina rig with the leader, and now let's tie on our hook. This is an Owner 4/0 J hook. I use this for pretty much everything that I do. It's one of the most versatile hooks that I've ever used. I really like it because I'm going to Texas rig. This is going to Texas rig one of those plastic baits, which I'll talk about those a little bit more, but I'm going to tie a Palomar with this too. Sometimes I will use a different hook, a lighter hook or something, but this is the one I use more times than not. Here's a Palomar. A little moisture, cinch it down. Cut off the tag end, and there we go. We've got the Carolina rig. So let's rig on this Berkley Maxcent Hit Magnum worm. This is a black one. Very good color down at the St. Johns River, where I've got it and lived for the last couple winters and springs. So I'm going to do the Texas rig. So with the Texas rig, I'm going to go down through the top of the worm, put a little bit past the barb, come back out the side at about a 45, bring down the hook, turn it now at the bend, spin it around, then it'll go down like that, and then the eye of the hook is at the top, and now you kind of line up where the hook's going to come through with your finger to use as a reference, and there you go. And I will just skin hook it usually back in to make it a little bit more weedless, so you're not going to get snagged as much. And there's your Carolina rig. You've got the leader. The bait's going to kind of trail behind this. You pull this along, and the bait's going to kind of just follow and sometimes come up off the bottom a little bit, float back down, and a lot of times it'll just kind of drag along, and that tail will move rooting around, and that the weight and the bead are going to bring, you know, the fish in with the sound and stuff, and then they'll be able to see this bait and hopefully eat it for you. The other bait that I would use, this is a straight tail worm. This is a little more subtle. Would be something that's got some kind of movement, some appendages that's going to create some additional like disturbance in the water. So this is a Berkley Chigger Craw. This one's a sapphire blue specifically. But I would do the same thing. I would Texas rig it. So I'm going to go down through the top, down through the side of 45, come down, turn it. I'm going to line it up, hook it back through. There we go. Just kind of skin hook it. Want to make sure it's laying flat, so it's going to be a natural look. So this one's got these appendages, these claws. So it's got this little thing that's connected to them. You can just break that. So that's going to allow it, when you move it forward and it's falling, those little flappers are going to kind of create a disturbance in the water and float down a little bit slower. It's going to slow down the rate of fall. That's a great bait too, just depending on what they want, something more subtle, something like longer, more slender profile, or something more compact and is putting off some vibration like this Chigger Craw. So that's our Carolina rig, guys. This is something that you can fish in a lot of different situations too. It's generally a little better if it's in slightly deeper water, but it'll work in shallow water too, especially a light Carolina rig. But this is something generally I'm going to be dragging if I want to cover a lot of water, if I'm just slinging around and dragging it on flats, because you can cover a lot of water that way. If you're just dragging it, if it's windy, you can keep the weight on the bottom. It's a good way to cover some water as well. You know, you can fish it on grass edges. You can fish it around rock. It's really good around rock because it's going to make that a lot of sound because of the bead clacking against the weight. So those things are going to be really, you know, what you're going to look for, shell beds, that kind of stuff as well. You can fish it in current. You can fish it, you know, in still water if you impart the action by just kind of dragging it along there. And the bites a lot of times will feel just kind of like pressure. Sometimes you'll feel like a pull, but a lot of times you'll just pull it and it'll just feel like a weird kind of pressure, almost like you're snagged, but it'll have a little bit of give. And when you do feel that, you're just going to kind of want to sweep set into that, which we can talk about hook sets in another video, but that's generally the hook set I'm going to impart on the Carolina rig. So guys, I hope you guys learned something here. Stay tuned. If you have any questions or you want me to elaborate on anything more, please comment it down below. And we look forward to the next video. Check us out. We have more content coming.